What comic book story do you get when you combine Game of Thrones, Jason Bourne, and Old Guard? You'll find out in just a minute. Hello everyone and welcome back to Married with Comics. I'm your host Laura, and before I answer that ominous question in the introduction, I wanted to give you all a quick reminder is we are definitely growing at an exponential rate. Thank you all so much for your ongoing support and for liking, sharing, and commenting on videos. We definitely appreciate it. We do have a 500 subscriber giveaway as a thank you to all of you for your hard work and dedication. So this is a Ken Lashley variant of Nonstop Spider-Man, remarked, signed by the artist. It's extraordinary. In order to qualify for this, you have to be commenting on videos. So I'll be talking to you down in the chat. Now, I asked a very fun question, combining 3 different things that don't quite seem to fit in one story, and yet it does. So the story that I'm talking about today is Lazarus. Now, I found out about this comic book thanks to the amazing Dan over at Ultimate Comics in Raleigh. So Dan has a knack for being able to, walk around the shop with you, and he'll make recommendations. And typically all you have to do is kind of say, superhero monster, and he'll start kind of pointing out 5 or 6 different titles. And he'll give you a quick little synopsis and tell you how this monster story is different from that monster story. It's a ton of fun, and I love picking his brain. So one of the times I came into the comic book shop and I said, I didn't want a superhero story, I wanted something different. And I wanted a kick-butt female kind of storyline. What have you got? So of course he showed me Velvet, which I've already talked to you all about, but then he also showed me Lazarus. And Lazarus is a very, very unique title. It's written by Greg Rucka, and the art is done by Michaellark. Gorgeous. So as soon as you open this book, it reads just like a movie. You have these just beautiful drawings, but then kind of the action is a little in your face, which is why I kind of compare it to Jason Bourne. The story just kind of grabs you from the very beginning, which is what I absolutely love. But then you have to build this world. Now there are 16 families, and they're all across the world. We have our main family, which is the Carlyle family, and they've taken over the western half of the United States. Their specialization is genetics, and each of the families, of course, have their own specializations that they've either used for profit, used for protection, or used to manipulate one of the other families. Definitely some Game of Thrones-esque, you have your alliances, you have your betrayals, you have your strategies of everyone's trying to either expand their territory or take something from someone else, so that way they can grow stronger, better, faster. So the other thing that's really interesting is as a Lazarus. So a Lazarus is a warrior, and most of the 16 families have a Lazarus. They are, in essence, the general for their army. A Lazarus is the best trained warrior that you will have. They go and they are sent off on missions. They negotiate on behalf of the family. They defend, protect. They are, in essence, on duty all the time, but they're not just like Secret Service. They also can't die, or they can be brought back to life, which is thus the name Lazarus. There are some genetic changes that have happened to certain Lazaruses, but especially with our main character, Forever Carlyle, because her family specializes in genetics and the ability to allow a person to not age with all the consequences of dementia, they've changed her personal genetics. So they're constantly monitoring her and seeing if they unlock this ability, if they increase this hormone, how does her performance change? So in a lot of ways, the family treats her with this sort of robot type assumption that this is the way it's always going to be and you must perform, you must do your job. So one of the best parts of this storyline is you have Forever Carlyle starting off as a woman who does her job, and she is constantly seeking the approval and the affirmation of her family. As we start kind of unbuilding the story and we go through the multiple volumes, she's now starting to question, and then she's also starting to see the other side of the different territories. So in the territories, you have the family, which typically is a very small number of people. You then have the serfs, which of course do all the work. And then you have the waste. People who basically didn't have enough skills to make it to serf, qualifications. There are certain times where they'll kind of filter through the waste and almost do like a testing, auditioning process to see if qualified to maybe move up to serfdom and be trained for certain specializations needed based on whatever the family does. Those opportunities exist, but they, just like everything else, they can be taken away very, very easily. So Forever Carlyle is always kind of seeing both sides of this family, where obviously they are not having to worry about what they're going to eat tomorrow, whereas as she's seeing the serfs and she sees the waste, and then she goes into different territories and how things are handled a little bit differently there as well, she starts seeing how it constantly is unfolding. And what I like about her is that she's now starting to question all of it. Do you just do your job and maintain that soldierly expectation? Or do you stand up, even if it's against your family, when an injustice takes place? Are you defending just the family because that's what you're supposed to do, or do you defend everyone? There's only one flaw with the series, and that is the pacing. Right now, I have 3 volume trade paperbacks. You can get this, there are a total of 6 trade paperbacks, or there are 3 collected editions. The series is still ongoing, so there, of course, will be more coming in the future. With volume 1, it's wonderful. It pulls you in, the action is fantastic, and I loved it. I immediately went back to the shop the next week, and I bought volume 2. Volume 2, on the other hand, starts kind of building more of the world and the politics and some of the serfdom and some of the other elements that they are important to the storyline. It's just you started with such a big high, and then it really started to slow down. So honestly, I purchased volume 2, and then I decided I was just going to read other things. So it wasn't until Comic-Con, when I found volume 3 at a stupid good price, that it definitely had to come home. I decided I'd give Lazarus another try, opened the book, and finished it in one sitting. It was that good, and now I'm really looking forward to finding volume 4. So I have a bad feeling that the pacing of this will constantly kind of do this ebbing and flowing, where yes, it is important that you build the world, but then suddenly you have these amazing action sequences that'll follow it. You do have to kind of be prepared that it will constantly do that to you. Now, the final bit of intrigue. This series has already been optioned for film. So it was optioned back in 2015 by Legendary Television. They bought the rights. However, in 2017, a statement was released saying that Amazon was the one who was going to be releasing the story, and that they had invested a substantial amount in this new television series. There was a statement made by Greg Rucka in response, and he said that the announcement had some inaccuracies and that the show was a long ways away from being produced. But that was back in 2017. I have no idea how COVID has affected it. All I know is there is no news on the Lazarus TV series. Now, I still have not finished the series yet, but I will say at the halfway point, I'm definitely in. So my big questions for you all is, have you even heard of Lazarus? Have any of you read it? And if you did you enjoy it? If you did not read it, do you have any other titles kind of similar to this that maybe you enjoy just as much? Did you like Old Guard, or were there some other titles that maybe kind of hit that Game of Thrones, Jason Bourne, action-adventure, non-superhero storyline that you really liked? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll be talking to you all again very soon. Have a great day, everyone.